slights of Nigeria's democracy. This important press conference signals a familiar path in which Nigeria's democracy is confronting the highest form of attacks, where the basic democratic ethos of what constitutes democracy is continually shrinking by the day. From clear cases of abuse of the 1999 Constitution, electoral malfeasance, democratic slight of state institutions, and even overreach, to public distrust of democratic institutions, we are witnessing the speedy and downward spiral of Nigeria's democracy. When Nigerians chose the pathway to democracy in 1960 and subsequently abided by the canons of democracy, all through the years, the country unequivocally pledged to adhere to the basic principles of democracy, some of which include freedom, media right, freedom of expression, free speech, civil and fundamental human rights. At the very core of those rights that are constitutionally bequeathed to and bestowed on the media organizations and journalists alike in Section 22 and subsection 39 of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution is a level of freedom that is allowed to flourish. Various democratic principles envisage these rights of the media as indispensable canons of democracy. Nigeria, from time immemorial, is not an exception and has never been an exception. It is for these reasons that the antics and antecedents of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, in recent times have been worrisome, shocking, and if not, posing as existential threats to Nigeria's democracy. In its recent activities unbecoming of a regulatory agency, the NBC has acted as if it is ferociously scared of certain facts and truths. Conversely, as the 2021 winner of the Nobel Laureate for Peace, Maria Reza, posited, without facts, you cannot have truth. Without truth, you cannot have trust. Without all three, we have no shared reality, and our democracy as we know it and all meaningful human endeavors are dead. For the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, we find the recent threat and warning by the NBC on Arise News as an indication of the decay of our democracy and marks of partisan overzealousness of a regulatory agency that was strategically meant to serve Nigerians. Rather, NBC has acted as if it is an appendage, a third dog, and overzealous pleaser of the presidency and top echelon of Nigerian power structure. While the Abuja School is not holding brief for any individual organizations, institutions, or have an agenda, we find the reasons the NBC relied upon to issue a warning to Arise News as befalling, undemocratic, autocratic, and as well unconstitutional. By sending a threat letter to Arise News titled Preponderance of Derogatory and Incidental Remarks, Final Warning, the NBC exposed itself in a fishing expedition to please the egos of the ruling class and shield them from the democratic tenets of accountability and transparency. For the NBC to have stated that the Arise News program contained unguided incidental remarks by Delefaro Timi against the legislature, executive, judiciary, and Mr. President is indicative of the complete derailment of its central obligation to the Nigerian state and its people. Let it be made clear, the NBC was not established to protect the presidency or the National Assembly or the judiciary or the office of the presidency. It was established and set up to protect the interests of Nigerians, to serve Nigerians unequivocally in all aspects of its operation. First, the NBC was not established to please, like I said, or act as a candy shop for the three branches of government, nor was it set up to protect the president and his office from being held accountable over constitutional breaches like forgery of document and official misdemeanor. Second, the question we need to ask NBC and its agent provocateurs is to find out whether Mr. Delefaro Timi interrogation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's alleged forgery case, associated with the Chicago State University and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, constitute preponderance of derogatory and incidental remarks. Has the NBC lost its track and memory that the Nigerian 1999 Constitution in section 137, subsection 1, paragraph J, stipulated that a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if he has presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission? Whatever answers and responses the NBC provides to the above posers, it is glaring that the commission was merely out not to further Nigerian democracy, but to gag the press, censor the media, intimidate the Arise News and other media and broadcast outlets in the country. Also, the NBC in the threat letter to Arise News, quoting its own act, observed that section 556 says the broadcaster shall have a delay mechanism to guard against possible undemocratic content. The question to ask NBC, its Director General, and its agent is who determines what constitutes undesirable content. Does the NBC, as an organization that is set to regulate media, have the powers to determine what constitutes undesirable content or undesirable news? That is the question this school is asking. In whichever way or means, it is incumbent on the NBC and the DG to know that Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution clearly spelled out that the press, radio, television, and other agencies of the mass media shall at all times be free to uphold the fundamental objectives contained in this chapter and uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people. That is very crucial. And Section 39, subsection 1, stressed that every person shall be entitled to freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference. So what NBC is doing at this critical juncture is interference, an autocratic this interference in that matter. As a school, we intend to educate the NBC more that the only instances where those rights, in fact, the Nigerian media should take this issue very critical. There are just few instances where the media, the rights of the media can even be abrogated, and only the courts, only the Nigerian court have those rights. Not even the president, not even the National Assembly have those rights. It is only the court, and there are few instances, like the school observed now. As a school, we intend to educate the NBC more that the only instances where those rights can be abrogated include: 1, national security and terrorism, where there are cases of national security, the country or the state can reach out to the media and say, on this particular issue, we want you to slow down a little bit because of issues of terrorism and national security. That is one instance. And then 2, establish cases of tortious wrongdoing. When the media has engaged in a criminal act or tortious wrongdoing, these are only the instances where the regulatory agency or the state itself can intervene to say they want to abrogate or take over those rights. Take over those rights. Even in these instances, only the Nigerian court have such powers to restrain the media. The fact that the NBC has lost in all its legal cases, it has beheaded against the Nigerian people, should have been a cautionary note to guide against the commission from arbitrary and unconstitutional act, but to no avail. You know, like in several of the cases that NBC has taken against either individual or media houses, NBC has never won any of those cases. They have lost all those cases because they are always acting in a partisan manner. Like if maybe somebody said a statement like Dele's case now, he said a statement like maybe against the president, they rush to intervene to gag the media or to gag the press. In such instances, the court would not allow maybe the agency to abrogate those rights, those freedom of right. Freedom of expression, free speech, media right are the basic ethos of democracy. The NBC is not following those things. They are just following partisan means to engage in the operation. It is therefore the candid view of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought that the threat by NBC smacks of an autocratic interference to abrogate the Nigerian Constitution, which has freely bestowed freedom of expression to Nigerian citizens and media organizations. The NBC need to come to terms and reality that the NBC Act and Code cannot override the provisions of the 1999 Constitution. You know, like in any case where there is a breach or maybe a regulatory agency thinks that a citizen or a media organization has overreached its bounds, overreached its steps, the tendency is to compare those rights that the NBC said were breached. Are they protected by the Constitution? If they are protected by the Constitution, the provisions of the 1999 Constitution, particularly in Section 22 and subsection 39 of the 1999 Constitution, overrides the act of NBC, the NBC Act. There's no way the NBC Act can supersede or surpass the powers of the 1999 Constitution. These are things that the NBC have not taken into consideration in most of its fishing expedition to get people gagged, or the press itself to gag for the purpose of pleasing their political appointers. Yeah? We therefore submit that the NBC, a light of its code in section 555, says the broadcaster shall have a delay mechanism to guard against possible undesirable content, cannot surpass section 22 and 39 of the 1990 Constitution. Therefore, the threat to arise is null and void, unconstitutional, and not known to the Nigerian laws and statutes within its media ecosystem. We urge all media organizations to resist any attempt by the NBC to gag and censor the media in whatever form, including seeking legal redress from the law courts. As a school involved in furthering the frontiers of democracy, we take the issue of media censorship as a very critical and as ominous danger to Nigerian democracy. So this is not the first time we are intervening in such critical matters. We have, through our robust research and scholarship, pursued those topics and issues rigorously. This has even led us to publishing a remarkable and well-researched book titled Media and Nigerian's Constitutional Democracy, Civic Space, Free Speech, and the Battle for Freedom of the Press. You know, we are not just a school that just call people to maybe oppose the state, but we provide scholarship and research. At a point, we discovered that the Nigerian media space, the democratic space, which the media is essential, was lacking in terms of research. We now engaged ourselves. We brought NBC. NBC is part of this book. This book was published by Lexington Books. We edited this book. We brought scholars. We did not only sit as a school. We brought other scholars, including NBC top management, to participate in this book. They have a chapter here that spells out all these issues about freedom of expression, freedom of the press, media rights, and others. So we are very shocked for the NBC to be part of this work, and then engage in such activities. This has even led, we went all the way to involve the NBC and its top officials in the research project for a better education on such salient matters of the Commission. For the NBC to act in this matter, to say the least, is very disappointing. So, call on NBC to withdraw the threat that was issued to Arise News, and then learn more on how to forge a democratic space that is free and that can allow every Nigerian to express his or her view on whatever issue once there is no wrongdoing or criminal act in the course of that expression. Thank you.
That's your opinion, and it's a right guaranteed by the Nigerian Constitution. It's a fundamental human right guaranteed by any international convention available. So as I said, we support the idea that NBC should actually know that in as much as they are a regulator, the citizens, the media, have the right and the freedom to express people's opinion, to promote civic participation, to promote democracy is all about participation. Democracy is all about engagement. It's all about a debate. So I think that right should actually be allowed and as is contained in the Nigerian Constitution. Thank you.
Union does not fall within the ambit of criminality, or there was no an engagement on wrongdoing. The NBC has no right to issue that threat. NBC went foul to the provisions of the Constitution as expressly stated in Section 22, Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution. That is an abrogation of the rights of Nigerians. They cannot say that if somebody said this person forged a document and there have been evidence in that matter, if he said he forged, and it was not only a one-sided appearance, there were other people who were supporting the case that there was no forgery. So the NBC did not focus on that. They just focused on somebody who made a statement. Maybe they felt uncomfortable that the statement was targeted at the president, and they said, so like we said, the NBC is, as an agency, as a regulatory agency, is not a candy shop that pleases the presidency, that pleases the National Assembly, that pleases the judiciary. It is meant to serve the Nigerian state and our people, and simple and short. So we want them to withdraw that statement because that statement is not known to law.